Good morning, everybody. I hope you had your coffee and tea, so you're very alert and happy for our awesome panel discussion with government officials from South Asia. We are very excited about this panel because the theme of this event has been create to use, and there's no bigger group of people in the government who would like to use this kind of technology. So we're really happy to have these panelists. We're really privileged to have them here to discuss their work and how they see uses for SotM. So how it's going to work, we're doing 4 short presentations by the panelists, then discussion afterward, and we'll open up to questions at the end. Also, this is being live broadcast on YouTube as well as recorded. So those folks at home, they say hi. See that? I think some of the bigger themes of this panel is to understand how OSM can work with government, how the strengths of OSM are seen by the government, and also what the weaknesses are, and what the OSM community can do to better reach out to government. So I'm very happy to introduce as our first speaker, Mr. Ganesh Prasad Bhatta, the Director General of the Survey Department of Nepal.
Thank you, Lisa. Namaste, everyone. This panel discussion is going to be started with me because my name is Ganesh. Ganesh is the start. Ganesh is the beginning. That's why I had this opportunity to begin the panel discussion session. Thank you so much, Lisa, and the organizers for providing me this opportunity to be a panelist, one of the panelists of this session, and I'm really happy that I have the opportunity to share what I know about OSM and what I'm doing, and it's a very good opportunity for me to let you know what I'm doing at the moment. So I have no words to thank you, by the way, so it's a great opportunity for me. Nisa gave me some structure, what should I speak to you? And her first question was what you are doing. And as the in capacity of the Director General of Survey Department, it gives me immense pleasure that I am currently leading the National Mapping Organization, and which is responsible not only for national mapping activities, but also it is the National Cadastral Agency. Quite a few national mapping organizations around the world are responsible for cadastral part, and Survey Department of Nepal is responsible also for cadastral survey that leads to the first registration of real estate property. So we do hold land property information as well. At the same time, recently we have also established NSDI division within our department. So Survey Department is also the nodal agency for the National Spatial Data Infrastructure in the country. So as an organization within the country, you can say it is the principal organization in Nepal that is responsible for working in the sector of national mapping and survey. At the same time, it has also the responsibility of regularizing all the surveying and mapping activities within the country. So this is general introduction to my organization, and I have nearly 3,000 employees around the country who are continuously working on their respective fields. And if I focus on what I am doing with the data, animals around the world are still traditional, you would say. It's very difficult for them to make open for the data. But I proudly say, if you look at the examples around the globe, you will find that Survey Department is comes at a higher level of data democracy, because we have opened all the topographic map data except 2 locations where we have some differences with our neighboring country. That's why quite very let's say small area where we have the data restriction, but all the topographic data is open. The problem is it open free of cost? No. We are not that much democratic at the moment. We charge. But I think all of you might have seen the dam in the river. If you have to divert the course of the river, then you create a dam, and there are some gates to discharge the water if it is run out of its capacity. Have you seen? Most of you have seen. So similarly, I have the dam of making the data open. So there are different gates to discharge the water when it's run out of its capacity. So at this year, I have opened the gate that discharges administrative data. Now it's free. If I open all the gates at a time, then what will it happen? It will create chaos. You cannot open all the gates of a dam at a time. That's why, slowly and slowly, this year we have opened the gate that belongs to administrative data. So now, all of you can download the administrative layer free of cost from our website. And similarly, we have the seamless topographic map series. This year what we did, only we opened half of the gate. We have reduced the price of the data by half, by 100%, no. 50%, I'm poor in mathematics. 50% I would say. And still we are discussing how to reduce the price of seed-based data. We haven't reduced the seed-based data. So we are putting our steps towards making the data open to all the users. I am convinced there was a statement in the morning from Bangladesh. I forgot where it is. Just memorize it. If you don't have any access to the map, then you are away from any information or something like that. Can you read it out?
If you are not on a map, you are deprived of a number of services.
That's great. I fully agree with this statement, and I want to ensure the Nepali community that one day survey department will make you feel that the data produced by survey department is open to all the users of the community. So my initiatives are on this line, and it will take few years, because I have a very big dam of traditional thoughts and all these things. And whenever I see the young people in the audience, I feel that I'm still young, and these young guys will lead me towards that making the data open. And one more thing, what I would like to inform this very smart audience that survey department undertakes all its activities that is guided by the Land Surveying and Mapping Act of 1964. That is 2019 of our Bikram Sambat, but it's 1964. What it says that any mapping activities done within the country should be should have approval from the survey department. The idea is not to control the mapping activities, but the idea is to avoid the duplication of reports, to make the data consistency, to make the people aware of the standards of the data, so that your product can be used by the other producer. So that's why I would like to let you know. I request you that if you have any this kind of activities going on from your organization or from your institution, you can come to survey department so that we can keep the record of whatever you do. And we have National Mapping Committee that is chaired by the Secretary of Ministry of Land Reform and Management, and myself is the member secretary of the committee, where there are the representation of different land ministries. So they all look at the policies and the laws and the other things, so that whatever you produce, it gets the authentic data, so that everyone can make use of it.
Okay.
One more.
Okay.
So her question was how you are using OSM. At the moment, sorry, I am not using OSM. But my young engineers, how many of you are from Ministry of Land Fund Management? Can you stand up? 1, 2, only 3, 4. They all are encouraging me to go for OSM. How can we make use of it? And they are pushing me towards that. And maybe in the future, in the days to come, we will be soon, making use of OSM data to, update our maps and or update our data. So at the moment, I think I took lots of time, and thank you so much for this point. Okay.
Thank you. I would like to thank the next speaker, Dr. Islam, who is the director of the Institute of Remote Sensing for Just.
Islam, I'm working in a public university in Bangladesh. Basically, I'm a professor in the Department of Geography and also just working as director in the Institute of Remote Sensing in the same university. It's a public university. Make sure that the OSM activities are just progressing well, at least in Bangladesh. So at the beginning, basically in the morning session, I have received some information from the users community that OSM mainly just developed, the data are developed mainly by the volunteers, and they are just counting the nodes and the details and the created new information. To integrate that particular OSM resources into the existing body of information that the government is using in various sectors for delivery of different services to the community. And my speaker, the previous speaker, he rightly mentioned that government is opening up opportunities, provisions to give information, and also just trying to improve and trying to develop partnerships with other platforms like OSM, and Bangladesh is also just doing the same thing. We have basically Bangladesh, India, Nepal. We are sharing. I think we have got the similar kind of policy and institutional frameworks in terms of just getting used data production, data dissemination, and there is a kind of security concern, and the mindset is still not very kind of friendly to just open their data gateway for public use. But still now there are plenty of opportunities. The Bangladesh government is just taking political slogan like Digital Bangladesh, and to translate that particular slogan, they are just developing many infrastructure and facilities so that people could use ICT facilities for receiving many benefits and services from the government. So this is, in that sense, this is an opportunity for the OSM community and the resources that have already been developed to integrate with the government systems, platforms, and in many policies, government are also just declaring or telling that we are government is welcome to just use different satellite and vector-based information to decision-making systems. So I have a couple of recommendations here. Basically, I'm today all the day I have just devoted to learn things from you guys through your presentations and the data that you have presented. So from the particular consideration, I have developed kind of few recommendations, 5-6 recommendations, what you could just think of to make sure that in next 10 years time, OSM is really contributing to a very good way to support the people, to support the communities, to support the victims from disasters, from migration-related displacement, and etc. And today, what I saw that basically all of the presentations gave me a kind of idea that the activities are happening around the humanitarian assistance and response kind of activities. But there are plenty of opportunities to use this particular resource to help government to attain their poverty eradication programs, development pathways to implement much more efficient and accountable ways, from project development to project approval process to project implementation or execution process, then oversight and other things. I could just see many linkages of this particular data to different stages of the program operation at government level. So it's a matter of I think developing some very good strong case studies, so that you could just demonstrate to influence the government and to give them the message that USS community is just going to support the government, not just coming up as to challenge the government about their data and other things, but just want to comply with the targets they are just going to achieve, and that could that kind of demonstration could be very useful. And if I just mention is as recommendation, this is one of my recommendations, that you could just, OSM community could just think of developing or arranging this kind of meeting or workshop or conference, like innovation conference or innovation kind of fair, some point at local level, at country level, at regional level, maybe at global level, to influence UN bodies and the bilateral partners, the regional countries, and also at state level. You could just think of. You could just OSM could just develop short-term, medium-term, and long-term some goals. If you just want to see in next year times what you are just going to achieve out of the activities that you are just doing now, it will be really useful to for you just to develop certain activities to achieve those particular goals. If you don't have that particular goal, it will be very difficult to just achieve certain things in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years time. So you could just think of developing some goals. You should this morning Dr. Lee from US, he mentioned that universities are the islands of stability. I also very strongly support to that argument, and I would recommend to just incorporate the university or develop partnerships with the universities with this particular OSM activities, so that they could just guide, they could just give innovative ideas, they could, the volunteers could be very good partners of those local universities, so that they could, the resources that are being developed, that could sustain, that could play good roles. And there's a challenge that there's a vital question throughout the day we have been discussing, that how we could just influence the government. There is a big barrier that government is not just giving enough opportunities to the OSM volunteers to get connected with the mainstream data. So I think my first recommendation that the innovation fair, or if we would be able to develop different apps or kind of tools and show them, or just give them the message that you could achieve your national targets by using these particular facilities, it will give them kind of good argument to improve their services. And what else? And there is another thing is that in Bangladesh there are many ICT centers government developed, like there are 8,500 post offices just working throughout the country. All those post offices are now digital. There are union positions like panchayats in India. There are 6,500 union positions just operating in the local government, local level in Bangladesh. All those union positions got digital centers. So and government is delivering at least 10, 20, almost 20 services through this particular digital center. So you could just go with this particular data and just do some value addition and give the community better services. And if you would able to just let this thing know, the government will just come up to incorporate this thing to improve their particular ICT facilities. These are basically some of the comments that I want you to make. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mr. Jayachandran Mani from the Karnataka State Remote Sensing Agency. He's the head technical officer for mission management at Karnataka State Remote Sensing Agency that also does disaster management.
Yeah. Thank you, Nisha, and thank you for the organizers, and welcome to all the participants here. I am representing Karnataka State Remote Sensing Center, one of the state of India. So where we do a lot of remote sensing and GIS activities, and we are also the authorities of the remote sensing and GIS data of Karnataka State. And I would like to just take some of the points. And this presentation was prepared just after lunch. We had a quick discussion. So just to encapsulate whatever I have understood in the morning and also in the lunchtime the discussion with Nisha. So just quickly I will go through it. So this is a major agenda. We will keep discussing about this. So when it comes to the policies, because that's what we have been told that because being the government, what are the policies being prevailing here? So in India, if you look at, we have been governed with various policies, and in specific to the map, we have national map policies, which is for Survey of India. As part of this policy, we have opened up the data which is available with Survey of India as two different set of series. One is the open series and also for the different series. So the open series maps are available to everyone, and it is not free, like what you are saying about, but yes, the data is available, it is open, it can be used for anyone. And the next is the remote sensing data policy, because it governs in terms of a satellite data, all kinds of a remote sensing satellite data, which is a base for the today's community of remote sensing and also for making all the maps. So this also very clearly mandates in India, up to 1 meter satellite data, anything is free. That means it is open, anyone can use it, no problem. And below 1 meter resolution, that means lengthing 0.5, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, it has to be used by a government agency. That's the only thing which is there. So it has to be used for a government oriented development planning or related governance activities. Otherwise the data is fully open and it is ready. So I am talking about an NRSA. And NRSA is a National Remote Sensing Center, which is the guidance agency or the authority for one point authority for buying and selling of all the data related to remote sensing. The next we have a National Geospatial Data Policy by so many agencies, by GSI, which is a Geological Survey of India, which also produces a lot of maps, valuable maps in terms of so many things, in terms of gravity, in terms of magnetic fields, in terms of bathymetric, so many things are there. So they also have a maps, so which is already open, all the 50,000 scale maps which is available with them as a hard copy maps which was there, it is already open. It is made available free of cost to everyone through their portal. And we also have a National Geospatial Data Sharing and Accessibility Policy from 2012 onwards, which is a policy which promotes, or I would say that this, the data sharing has to be made public. That means the data available with every department has to be made public. So that is the first mandate. And the data should be interoperable. And if any data which is confidential with the departments, it has to be clearly classified. This is a confidential data. The moment when you say it's a confidential data, that does not go into the public domain. So this is the key factors. In line with all these things, there are states which have already started following some of the geospatial acts. Like Delhi, Government of Delhi has already created an act. It's just not a policy. It is an act mandating all the departments to use a common source of a data and common map, and then all the Delhi's data has to go into that. There is an act also. And even Karnataka, we are coming to the policy. We don't have an act, but we have the policies where data has to be shared. So our mandate is, our motto is a public money we are used for generating the data, public money used for data. Anything which is used by from the public should be brought to the public as a free. So that is the government's motto which we are currently working. And apart from this, now current I put it the last, but that is the driving factor, the digital India and make in India, make in India. So many slogans are there in India which have been continuously being used for the last few years, and that is the driving force for all the states to come towards that system. So making open, that means the data is getting open, not just a map, I am saying data. So it can be any kind of a data, it is all coming open. So with this as a problem, I just quickly go through some of the other things. So this is again what technology we use. Almost we use every technology of the geospatial part, whether it's remote sensing, it's for GIS, it's for LiDAR, it's for mobile units, or it can be sensors. So everything, at least in Government of India and Government of Karnataka or various states, for as part of the different programs are being used, and multiple platforms as well. And the solutions and different models are being generated by different departments specific to them. Like education department will have a separate system, agriculture department will have their own system, or like IMD meteorological department have their own models, because everyone uses the geospatial technologies to the core. So geospatial technology is the core, including for disaster monitoring, management and dissemination. So these are all live systems which is currently available and open in India, which is there. So it is public. I am not saying that nothing is secret here. And in terms of disaster, things, because I was told that this is more focused on disaster, I would always say it's not just a disaster, it's for a map, can be used for planning, governance, anything. So disaster is one area which can go out for anything also. So for a disaster, yes, you need to have pre-disaster map and you need to have post-disaster map. So here, the post-disaster map creation. So that is the place where this open series map, the OSM community has helped a lot in creating what was earlier and what is today. So that analysis change detection has made help a lot of the government, especially here, not only here, everywhere. So that is a major thing which is helping, and only the OSM community can help us. Okay, so fine. So with this, I will just quickly go through. Okay, can you go to the next slides?
All right.
Okay. So we, in that line, we have created a Karnataka GIS, which is the vision. I will only talk about this. It is basically to establish a common framework, common system. It is to establish a common system and common framework of data, and on top of it, develop the data. That means integrate all the departments' data, disseminate to the public, develop applications, and release to the public. So this is the ultimate objective which we all are talking in the morning. So the government has to be open, government has to be open. I am saying that we are already there in this path, and I am the person who is also heading the technical part of this event for the last 1 year. And this is how the conceptually it is coming up. Multiple applications existing. It's not just a data. Every department has already applications. So applications also has to get integrated through the open systems. And as part of it, we also major thing. One of the major thing which everyone will understand, which we discussed also in the morning, that to have a common maps. That means a framework. Otherwise, your hotel will be here on the left side of the road, the same hotel will be there on the right side of the road, which we discussed in the previous sessions. So these kind of problems can be avoided if you have a common framework. Because government, yes, because we just not only, because we also own and we are the authorities. Because we own, we take responsibility of everything which is going out of it. So we have to have it, we cannot have a redundancy, we cannot have an error in the data. So we own it. If there is error, it's owned by us. So for that we have standard spatial framework, and a lot of data are available in the portal. Whatever I am talking is all already available in the public. Applications are being developed, which is through web services you can integrate with everything. A lot of functionalities which we have developed, and it's a common functionality which people can use it and you can adopt it in your existing domains. So with this, I am just leaving the topic to the discussions, which I would like to say. Open series maps, community should integrate. These are the points which discussion thoughts. You can take it up. Few points. OSM have to come on to the government. Yes, government will be is ready to take up the OSM community. The only thing is just to be institutionalized. Because if you say that it's a free and hit and run case, it will not be possible. Because you would have to have some ownership, some responsibility. Today's problem of OSM is no one is responsible. If someone can take responsibility, that responsible person can come to the government, discuss across the table, we can take it forward for the further activities. So with this, maybe I just take my time. Thank you, Nisha, and we will discuss more on this.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Mr. Samansiri, Assistant Director of Research and Technology at the Disaster Management Center for Sri Lanka.
Good afternoon. Namaste. Thank you very much for the organizers giving me this opportunity. I am OSM mapper personally and also work for the government. So I have two roles. So today discussion I am in the government part. Okay. I have a few slides. Would like to show a few things. So what we have done previously. In 2012, with the support of the World Bank, we have started the usability of OpenStreetMap through the government. What you see here is the two things. In the eastern coast, we did very small one for the tsunami building mapping, and the west coast, there is a big project in 2015 we have completed for the flood mapping. Our friends who are sitting here are those who did these works, and we basically led the arrangement. So you see that this is one kind of example that how government involved in the OpenStreetMap community and OpenStreetMap initiatives. These are very old slides, how even myself, how we trained, and we after initiated this work and had a camp to map in a eastern coast, about 30,000 of the building. You see the red is the tsunami affected buildings out of total buildings. And so these are the kind of use cases. This is our trial. And after, with this trial, what we did myself, I am representing the disaster management organization, government organization in the country, and I'm not in the survey department, survey people. But this type of work, we have to get the blessing of the survey people, survey department. So we made survey. We told that there is a mechanism, there is a method, not disturbing your arrangement, but we have to test this one. So they came forward, and we as a team together did this work. And you see, in speaking the disaster management, disaster risk reduction, identification of the risk is very important. If you know the areas, if you know the buildings, if you know the people are in the red, okay, those people needs more urgent support, or maybe for the long-term reduction, these buildings need kind of arrangement. So this disaster risk reduction is understanding risk. If you come familiar with the Sendai framework, 2015 to 2030, our main target is to understanding risk. What is the risk around us? For that, we need the data, proper data. So this is one type of city level understanding risk using OpenStreetMap. We tested in 2012, 2013, and same thing, the West Coast project, about 200,000 buildings map, again with the World Bank support. My organization participated as a facilitator, and mappers did this work. So this is kind of organized mapping, It's not 100% volunteer mapping. You see that here again the information we get. What are the buildings affected by certain floods? So this is the information we need to translate to those who are in the field for the operational and kind of strategic level decision making. I talked about a little bit on the risk reduction, and this is the response. How to use the OSM community from the international to in case of response. Maybe some of you, or many of you, have participated in this mapping assessment in 2016 on request of us. I think I can see the face. Yeah, you have done at least some good work. So what happened? The upper map is showing that about 100,000 buildings, and the lower is showing inundation data overlaid with the very simply with the buildings and identify number of buildings affected. This is very few days period. It's not month of the work, it's few days analysis. The impact is very important to make the decision, and I'm also working with the remote sensing, getting the satellite observed during disaster period and get the satellite data, radar or whatever data and analyze for the flood. Sometimes satellite can fail, then we use the other technology, maybe ground. Output is this. We have to go for a very quick data arrangement for the decision making. Finally, the data sharing. One of our initiatives in Sri Lanka since 2012 is data sharing. We talk with the government, being the government, we talk with the survey department and the organization, and now we are in the process of establishing NSDI, National Spatial Data Infrastructure for the Sri Lanka. In parallel to that, before that, we set up a GeoNode for Sri Lanka with all the administrative, as Survey General, Survey Department, Director General Survey mentioned, some of the data released from the Survey Department of Sri Lanka is here. Not everything, but we got some data released, and also many building data from the OSM, and also many other flood data, historical data. History is repeating. If you know the flood last time, next time we can utilize that. So this is the example use of open data. So my conclusion. OSM and the government mapping mechanism should be should complement each other, not compete each other. The government should work together with OSM people, OSM committee, and the power of OSM should understand by the government. Therefore, if the power is getting more higher from the OSM side, government should accept to use this information, work hand in hand with the volunteers. The second point, government support organized mapping is needed, mass scale mapping than volunteerism. I mean, volunteerism is very important, but the organized mapping is very important. So then government and mapping people both work together. The government maybe set the standards together, so but it doesn't need any control. My third point is let OSM should be independent. they have to be independent. Let it go. Let OSM support by concluding there should be a mechanism to share, exchange data from the government to OSM, OSM to government. This is my conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you all for really great insights and the diversity of experience, actually. I have one question, and then I think we can open it up to the audience. From this morning, the Vice Chairman made some good points about openness being essential for South Asia and Asia in general, and how we should start working with governments as part of the open community. But a part of openness in general and OpenStreetMap in particular is that you need strong communities in your countries, in your places, in order to actually have a strong OpenStreetMap and government collaboration. How can the government support community building and building trust with things like OpenStreetMap? Can you encourage communities to grow, or like should it be organic and then you can start working with a community that already exists? And that's for everyone, so I might just send the mic around.
Can I repeat the question? How?
I'm sorry. How can governments encourage the creation of OpenStreetMap communities? Or do you want to wait for this community to create itself before you start working with them?
Very difficult question for me. The recent advancement in the society, I would say, that has brought due to the advancement in information and communication technologies and other opportunities provided by different industries that are working in the field of spatial information. They have created the opportunity to have many more data. At the same time, the society is so much advanced that even my wife, she's not a surveyor, but sometimes she needs a map to plan her, the schedule. So the society is developing in such a way that everyone needs a map. So the national mapping organizations like Survey Department of Nepal is having challenge to meet their needs of the society. So now the government has, it is a kind of in the stage of compulsion that the government has to encourage the other organizations other than the national mapping authorities that can contribute in meeting the societal needs. In this context, I see, there is a strong room for encouraging OSM communities. But at the moment, we still are running with our, the policies that are governed by backed by traditional thinkings and those things. So we have to sensitize the society and the people from the government that why we have to encourage the OSM community. There can be the role from both sides. For example, if you ask me what you can do, and what I do is I will try to convince the policymakers that why I have to transform myself from being so much close to open. At the same time, OSM community can lobby that how they can play a vital role in the society. If I go to some policymakers that OSM community can contribute in this way, if I speak in words, he or she may not trust me. So if OSM community can show their smartness, how they can contribute. For example, during the earthquake of 2015, OSM community did a great job. Even the maps prepared by ourselves during pre and post maps, we had in the background we use the OSM maps prepared by the OSM community. So these are the instances where you can show the rationality of your existence in the society. So it's a both way. So I should, as a government, I am not Ganesh, But as government, I should, I should recognize the importance, and you should, Dr. Namapuraturi should let me convince that his importance in the society is greatly needed. That's how we can work together. Hope I answered correctly. Did I understand your question?
The same questions. Sure. My answer from my side is yes. The government in general recognizes the open source community. Yes, from our side perspective. There are two things which I would like to clarify here. So one is when you say open source community, then what is open source community and what kind of data you are going to populate to the government and what the benefit the government is going to take out of it. And then what is that you are expecting from the government. So there are two things that need to be clarified properly. So that's what I would like to understand. One is because the government of India, government of Karnataka, in our perspectives, we encourage citizen participation. So there are a lot of crowdsourcing information we value. So here we are talking about open street map as a one community. If that one community as a representative, they can come to the government and we are ready to support. And government of India and government of Karnataka promotes a lot of capacity building activities in the geospatial technologies. And then we go to the schools, we popularize the maps. We have the school mapping programs which is being conducted. And we have programs of various village level mapping which is being conducted. Now to an extent we are even in the part of a Digital India, Swachh Bharat mission, we are even mapping the toilets. So there are solutions, these geospatial technology solutions are being used. But then the government gives the platform and we expect the volunteers from the respective self-help groups which we call in India. So the localized people are the people who collects the data and then shares the information back to our common platform. So here the only thing what I would like to understand is the problems what is happening is there are multiple agencies. Like we have government of Karnataka has one agency set up running it, government of India has a one platform running it, and you have an open series map, and there are other things apart from this. Google Maps are available. There are so many platforms which is available, and the data collected by the public is going to different sources and not coming to one single source. So even though there are participation from the communities, what is happening is the data is not at times is not going to the people when it is needed because there is no centralized source. So what we are trying to promote is that we should have a mechanism created where you create the data, please share the data to the government so that when it gets through the government portal, because government definitely is not a competitor for anyone. That's what everyone has to understand. So that OSM also they can change, because if you say everything has to come on to OSM portal, then there is a question, because then who owns it and who is responsible for the data? When it comes something under the government, then government takes the responsibility of validating it, or there is a disclaimer still in government portals can go that these are the data from an open source data which is not owned by the government departments. And I also like to add something more also, because government is what we are talking about open source maps is just only points and positions. Okay, this is a hotel name is Park Village. Other than that, we are not having much information. But then the government data is something more. So who is the owner, when it was licensed, when is the license expiry, what kind of business is being done, and how many rooms are allowed, how many rooms are being, and what kind of, so there are so many governance related things which is there, which is what government is in part, like government is interested only in those kind of data. So no one restricts on what data, because what we are talking about information. Okay, there is a data, there is a hotel which is there. So that is what we are now mapping. So I do not see there is any restrictions of having this data displayed on the government portal. Because at least from an Indian perspective, India has a own platform and we have Karnataka as a Karnataka JS platform. Every state has their own platforms. If the data comes onto the platform, then there is no problem. And you take the once put the data and then keep the government to update it continuously. You also take the data because the government is already publishing it in the open world. It's an open internet data. So use it. So here the only thing is everyone wants to keep the data within themselves. That is what the governments are doing always. When it's a government department, there is nothing called government, only the departments. Okay, so that is what everyone wants to hold the data. So I think the same thing we are now all the community like Google, all your maps, OSM, everyone wants to hold the data. Keep it data flexible, share it. The moment when you keep sharing it, no, there will not be any restriction.
OSM is sharing.
Now, OSM is sharing the data. That means you are exporting the data.
Yeah.
You are giving the export data. But then problem is updating, continuous data, because duplication should not be there, and then validation should be there. So what I am suggesting is that the data should be on a common platform.
But bad data is better than no data.
Yeah, that's what. OSM or Google has become very popular because government was having the old data, all 1950s, 1800s, 1900s. With that data, we are not able to do anything. Whatever available with that, government is holding it. Now they are opening it because they have seen there are much more better data is available in the public market. So there is no point in keeping it secret.
No, like, still we are discussing the issues. Then what can be the solution? How we can merge with the government? Then that is what you are telling that.
Yeah.
Like if it has already grown up, then government can go forward.
Yes.
So this type of solution we are.
Now, I would like to say from our perspective, suppose from India, we have one platform as an holistic whole of India. So if we can have, that means if OSM as an entity can come and talk to the Bhuvan, they said, okay, I am going to use the Bhuvan as a data platform. That means the base platform, that means the satellite data, because even your OSM also has the satellite data as a background. So keep the same satellite data or keep updating the satellite data as the same framework, and then you keep updating it. So you are free and the data is available in the portal. You also can use the data. The data is used by the government also. That's all. Someone has to come because OSM, otherwise it is an individualistic, we are only talking. And someone has to own and come.
Wait, let's just hold off with the other panelists finish and then we'll open up for questions. Yeah.
Right. My response to your question that how government could just play roles to energize the community groups to develop better with some resources so that government would just use it. I'm a bit pragmatic and bit cynical about government position in this regard. Government will not just come forward in the first point to support or to organize or to energize the community. What you could do, there are many policy options. The policy administration landscapes are just changing very rapidly. If you just look into the government system, in Bangladesh now, there are different sector policies, but now 3-4 policies are contributing to develop a kind of umbrella program and trying to achieve the targets. So there are many policies or kind of group of policies where you could just find many avenues to penetrate with your data to support the government, and you have to be innovative to show to develop the projects so that you could demonstrate them that is not competing, we are just complying with your targets. If you just use this OSM data, you are just maybe targeting to achieve poverty eradication program by 2021, but with the use of this particular data, you could just do that by 2019. So this kind of demonstration could just help government to understand better that the community should be supported and the data should be open. This way, one day, I think you will just find a very good ground for the volunteers. And in our part, the civil society movements are very strong. In Bangladesh, the NGO activities are very strong, and government is in some way using, like the Red Crescent Society and other agencies who are just working for disaster management activities. They are just using this open source information which are developed by the volunteers. So it's already there, but you are just want to see more kind of support from the government. But you need to be pragmatic, you need to be very active, and you need to be very innovative to just influence the government so that they could just come forward and support the community much better. Right? Thank you very much.
Okay, slightly different way I would like to approach this case. I'm not going to talk about the survey department kind of involvement in the government, but I'm also representing the government. The use of OpenStreetMap is a part of main program of ours. Very recently, we have initiated national emergency mapping mechanism in the country. Is still going on. The policy papers and the concept of operation is still being developed, and GFDR is supporting. It was our initial concept. What is the concept? In case of emergency, we need satellite data. International partners, government like our, in this case, except India, the other region don't have satellite. We get the satellite from the international charter, Sentinel Asia and other mechanisms. We get the satellite data. Not only the satellite can play vital, we have to go for the ground data. Ground data, the government cannot collect all the ground data. We have to get the public participation. Forces, military, during emergency, military can collect the data. Where the areas flooded. So they are the part of the community or government, and yet individuals, people, they can send where the floods occurred. These are the information, these are the maps. The third thing is, OpenStreetMap community can do the hot activation and do whatever the buildings. Third. Fourth, the drones. Very recently, we are also talking about the drones. Too much of drones made some problem in Sri Lanka also, but now we are in a line utilizing, registering the drone owners to the National Emergency Mapping Mechanism. So then they will be given a kind of authority, license, they can operate. Like the Japanese case, today only I found that within 500, okay, that is good lesson for us. So, as a whole, everyone, we get the recognition of the individuals. The emergency is the best time, the utilization of the volunteers. So, from that, the National Emergency Mapping Mechanism, we are going to establish very soon. The chair, co-chair, two co-chair, the one chair in Sri Lanka mapping mechanism is Survey General and the head of my organization. Two organizations from the government with all these participants we will very soon establish. So this is the one of the initiative we are going to do, recognition of the volunteers. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll open up to questions from the audience. Are there any questions?
If no question, I can. This is not a question because the Director General referred my name, and I'm inspired. This question is being inspired by your comment. So we talk a lot about the data in OpenStreetMap. That's great. I think the most of the discussion is centered on data, but there are also other benefits. There are also other things going on. For example, one of the biggest contributions of this community is to develop a map literacy. So I know in Nepal nobody reads map, and it's very oral culture. A map is not something that people use for direction or whatever. So at least forget about data. I am sure we're also making important contribution in terms of data creation, but let's forget about data. That contribution is vital too. We're reaching out to thousands and thousands of people that we started. At least these people know what map is. So that is something the survey department is struggling to do in the past because they're so busy in their regular business. So, and there are also other benefits. For example, engagement of the young people, that process of empowerment, they are engaged now. They begin to observe the surface of the earth more consciously now than before. So I think what I'm trying to say is, in addition to data, this movement is also making lots of other contribution. So in the interest of the time, I'll stop there. I don't know if people have other questions. Who should I pass it?
There's one question.
Let's do a few and then we can do one answer.
Yeah, hi, I'm Saikat from India. I have a question from Karnataka GIS Institute. I mean, government should use OpenStreetMap data. I think so. I mean, there is data available, and I think that government doesn't have the ability to map a huge area in a short term that this OpenStreetMap community has the ability that. So I think government should take the data from OpenStreetMap. I mean, it is a virtual community. I mean, all over the world, people are mapping whenever something happened, any disaster or anything else. So people are mapping voluntarily. No one, in that terms, no one owns this data. So there is data, government should take the advantage of that existing data, which is volunteers when they are mapping, they they learned how to map, and they almost they are trying to add the correct information about that point of interest or any road or that kind of feature. So I think government should take that advantage.
Any more questions?
I 100% agree with you. Government should take the data, whatever is available in the open community. And from Karnataka government, yes, we do use open source maps, that means OpenStreetMaps we are using as a backdrop like Google, so that way we are still using it. So, but not as a, because we don't, Google OSM maps we are using for an export data, some few portions we have still used it, but not for a full-fledged governance solutions what we are using. You can use it, definitely yes.
Hi, thank you very much for the panel, distinguished panel, and talking to us about the government point of view on OSM. Found it very interesting. My name is Faith. I'm from the U.S. in Colorado, and I would like to ask, all of you your, opinions or strategies on how to connect with OSM better due to standards. It seems like the limiting factor of why the government might not be using OSM data is because it's not up to the standard. So how the data is not up to the standards of what the government is expecting and hoping. And so how would you, close that gap, the standard gap?
We'll take one more question and then we'll do a round of answers and end the panel. Yeah?
Last question.
Last question.
Hi, my name is Bradley. I'm also from the U.S. Thank you again for the panel. I think this is a really enriching and important discussion. My question is, there's been a lot of discussion throughout the day today on this notion of interoperability, or that the data that's released is not just made public, but that it's made public in an accessible way. And so I'm just curious from each of the government perspective, how you view this concept of opening data, and at what point is data open? I know myself, and I'm sure there's probably others in the room, that a lot of times data is made public, but you still have to jump through a lot of hoops for it to be usable. So I'm curious, from the government perspective, is putting a map out, is that open? Is a portal, is that open? How you view those standards of openness?
Okay, great. And let's start over here. Everyone has 1 minute to...
Basically, if I respond to the last question first, I don't see in near future any possibility that government will just open up their map data in the current context in any portal or any avenues. But as I mentioned earlier, that you need to just be innovative to develop certain programs or apps or certain services, so that government can see that there's a real value of this particular OSM-based or open source information to capture better services for the communities. This is one thing, and for your question, I would like to respond in a way that the purpose of OSM community, they are just using the data. It's not about making sure the standards. It's all about kind of humanitarian response, or it's all about to deliver better services, those kind of stuff. So objectives of creation of data is a driver of just developing data in such a way. And government, the data they are holding, that is, I think some of the data are century old, as you mentioned, and they were not developed for just delivering the services to the community. Their purpose was to collect the revenue from the lands, from other resources, from the forest cover, from the water navigation routes and other things. So the purpose of two sets of data are different. So with considering this difference in the objectives of creation of data would be a big challenge to just compare each other in terms of the standards. So here you need to be kind of academic exercise and the analysis to think of it and how to just bring those two set of data together. Thank you.
There are so many other businesses we can perform those data. So it's up to the standard 95-90%. There are some companies. The open is basically if we open data $100, the return to the economy is more than 1,000. I think therefore we have to open the data at least 90%.
Okay, so we agree with the second question that the data has to be open to the public. And we are, at least from the Government of India, Government of Karnataka's perspective, yes, we are opening up the data slowly. And I would say almost we have opened up already 80%. And we will continue to open up the data and the information is already public 100%. It's only the map accuracy part of the data only is slightly still restricted a little bit. And otherwise it is already open. And I would like to just invite the OSM community in India to please come and discuss. We work out the procedures and process, how it can be, how your OSM data and OSM community can help the government and both the other way around. Okay, so with that as an invitation, I just thank you for this.
Thank you so much. Regarding the first question, how are you working in reducing the standard gap between OSM standard and the national standard? In fact, until now, I myself and Dr. Budatuke have never talked, officially about the OSM issues. We never talked about the standards and all these things. And he sometimes comes to our office that you should make the data open. It just comes and I say yes or no. We have, and we never discuss about these things. And what I can do that, since I already mentioned that we have recently established NSDI division within the department, and so we will be soon developing NSDI policy. And maybe we can, collaborate with the OSM community, what they expect from the government. And we should discuss about the standards, what are the national standards and how, OSM community can comply with the national standards, or do I need to change my standard to meet their requirements? This can be done if we discuss together, maybe in the policy, we can make that. Yeah, I'm ready for that. Regarding the opening of the data, I already mentioned that I have already opened the gate of administrative boundary. At the same time, also the gate of 1:1 scale data is also open. Both shape files, so any professional can use it. And who knows, in the future I may be opening up 1:500,000 map or 1:100,000 map. Maybe in a year or two we'll be slowly going to the opening the data. And personally, I'm in the view that the public, the data produced by public funds should be open to all. That's my personal view. But sometimes I have also the team of 3,000 employees around the country, and I also have to hear their consent. So, in the days to come, I can talk to Nama. How can we make OSM community more benefiting to our society, and how they can feel that survey department is really supporting OSM community, not only OSM but also the people at large. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I just want to make one correction. That is the Dr. Islam was telling that in the morning in my presentation I showed something actually, and then now it was a different presentation. So sorry for that. Actually, I am answering the various question about the data and the map data. For the map data, we have one portal that is the GeoDash, that is the GeoNode, and some around 13 government organizations they added some data. They are not full data, some data, and all are not open. And there are some other international organization data, they are open, so anybody can download. This is the shape file. And second is the data. There is one government initiative, that is OGD, Open Government Data, that I showed in my presentation. We are trying to fit OSM with open government data. There is some discussion through one department, Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics. They are trying to fit that, the OSM data, because OSM is very powerful. They don't have, because for the census information they need 10 years. So they want to reduce it. in the 5 years.
We have to end the panel.
So that is the OGD is the one thing that we were making the free data for the public through the OGD.
Okay, I would like to thank the panel members for coming and giving us their talks. I believe some of you will stick around and we can continue to discuss these issues. So thank you everyone. And